Hey guys.
Hey guys.
Oh,
So
just spent like
I just spent
5
like
minutes
5
maybe 10
minutes, maybe 10 minutes
ranting and raving.
ranting and
Maybe
raving,
30 minutes.
maybe 30 minutes,
And
and
didn't have the mic on.
didn't have the mic on. So
Apologies.
apologies.
Doing this again.
We're doing this again.
But we're gonna change it.
But we're gonna change it.
To actually show you
I'm gonna actually show
what I'm
you
talking about.
what I'm talking about. So
We
if we
go
just go over here for just a moment,
over you.
I will show you the madness. So
What we're looking at.
what we're looking at
Not that.
is not that. We're looking at this.
Global news.
Global news. Not a good news. Anyways,
Liberals to give
liberals to give
cost
low-cost loans for new BCC rental. Think about that.
low cost loans.
Low-cost
New
loans
BC
for new BC
rental
rental
program. Not
not
home ownership.
a home ownership.
No.
No.
Home rental
Home rental,
is
because
you're not allowed to own
you're not allowed to own
anything.
anything.
Would you own anything?
Why would you own anything? Well,
I can tell you why. Because they don't want you to own anything. Because ownership is too much power. And they want to keep you weak. Look at this. The liberals. Ah, yes. Yes. Helping the little man. Those liberals really are. Or are they? Let's find out, shall we? The Trudeau Liberals are set to announce that the federal government will provide low-cost loans in British Columbia to help build rental housing on provincially owned land. So, let's break this down. The federal government will provide low-cost loans. Now, what does that mean? What is a low-cost loan? Well, that means that, in theory, the interest rates are low. In theory, right? Assuming that interest is at play and it's not just some sort of fixed rate, or fixed fee or something like that on payback. I mean, this is North America. They seem to love interest rates, so why wouldn't it be interest? Obviously. So it is going to be interest, but it says low cost. Now, what that means is maybe 1%, 2%, loans, right? We don't know. It could be 4%, it could be 5% if they plan on raising the rates, right? Like it's relative to what the normal loans are. But low-cost loans. Now keep in mind that those loans are not for you and I. Those loans are for big companies, development companies, and rental companies specifically, like Boardwalk and Strategic and all these horrible leeches on society. It's for them, so that they can get access to cheaper money, because they didn't have access to the cheap money for the past 10-15 years. No. And during the whole period of 0% interest rates for the most part, or 0.5 or whatever the hell it was. Oh, no. They couldn't build then either, right? Please. This is just, it's such a fraud. It's just insulting that they even promote this stuff as helping us. It's an insult. It's just a slap across the face every time. They don't want you to own anything. They don't want you to have a house. They don't want you to feel secure. They want you to rent from a parasitic, fucking company that is going to get money given to it, cheap, that they can essentially, oh yeah, you want some cheap loans? Here. Billions of dollars of cheap loans to these development companies so that they can buy up land that the government already has, that doesn't want to do anything with it, because the government doesn't want to actually do anything. No, they're going to give billions of dollars to a select group of fucking fat cat developers, and they're going to put the money into their pockets and say, look, you can use this money to only build rental properties. So what happens? We're going to give you a little bit of money, and we're going to make you not really have to pay much back on it either. We're going to give you actually quite a lot of money, billions. You're not going to really have to pay much back on it. And better yet, you're going to be able to make money off of it for eternity afterwards too, because you're going to be renting it out. And we're probably going to turn we're just going to pretend we don't see it when you start raising the rent. Because, oh yeah, you know, you're not going to raise the rent, right? You're an honest rental company. You're not going to just keep skewering the people. No. Of course not. Even though every single one does, always. No. But we're helping people, right? I love how they even... I love this. I love this article. I love this fucking article. Look at this. They... It's rentals. It's not housing, but they highlight the word housing because it's such a big issue that it's like a keyword in Global News's little tags. Like they're like monetizing that word like a motherfucker right now. Like if you look at the cost of SEO on housing and all that, it's crazy how many people are buying those keywords. But not rental. No, not the word rental, which is what this actually is. This isn't about housing. Guys, this is rentals, not housing. Stop even calling it that. And here's the kicker, guys. I haven't even got to the kicker. Here's the kicker. In Canada, rentals aren't for low income. These rentals aren't going to be for low income people, guys. Don't be ridiculous. We don't help low income people in this country. These rentals are for middle income earners so that they can afford to live in that area. Okay, just think about that for a moment. Pause. Just take as long as you need. Earning starts here at the bottom. That first section. I mean, I guess you could draw one line, call it poverty. And then right above that is usually where they call low income earners. But I mean, poverty encompasses low income earners as well. It's just that poverty is another line that we draw. But so you have like low income earners, and sometimes poverty actually, the line goes higher than the low income earners. And so you get poverty that slips into the middle income earners. I don't know what that means though, like what relative scale they're referring to, where middle is and where low is, because I always thought low was relative to poverty, and then middle was relative to low, and high was relative, and then elite and extreme and ultra wealthy and all those were above that. But I guess I'm mistaken, because I just don't know anymore, because my understanding is in the old days, I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, maybe I'm wrong, but this is how it used to work. It used to go, poverty, had trouble affording homes. Low income, rentals, because they couldn't get the down payment necessary to get a house, to get a mortgage. And so the low income people were somewhat punished, always have been, with rentals. Rentals only serve a benefit as temporary housing when you're like a student or when you are a temporary worker, a temporary foreign worker. Specifically, you don't have any interest in sticking around for long term because you either economically will never be able to afford to nest, or you're not legally allowed to due to citizenship or what have you. So the only benefit that rentals ever provided was for students, and then the first couple of years, in theory, getting out of low income so that you can get into middle income. And so then you can buy, get, I guess, a down payment and then put it down and get a mortgage and get your own house so that eventually you have a place to retire in. That was the way it used to work. Now, middle income earners need government-sponsored rental programs to afford to live in the area they work in. I don't think that's middle income, guys. I don't care if you call it middle income. I don't care if it used to be middle income. That's not fucking middle income. That's low income. You guys, like, this is what I mean. Our society is so bad that we're literally devolving as a country. We no longer promise any of the things we used to promise, even just 10 years ago. We don't promise any, like, we don't even promise a fraction of the things they used to promise when I was just going into school. Like, I remember specifically in grade 6, we did this kind of like project where you had to look into like careers and you had to just kind of do some really basic budget and find what it would cost to live. And, you know, you were kind of given a lottery in that system where you, like, everyone drew their life. It's like the game of life, right? Like the board game. You pull out a lottery card, you look at it, and you're like, okay, this is what I get. Now I have to make do with this. That was kind of the project. You gotta realize that when I did that project, I was like 12 years old. So that was literally 20 years ago, let's say. 20 years ago. It was an $85,000 salary. That's what I had in that project. I had 85 Canadian. That was a high paying salary. It was a far above average at the time. I think the average was 50 or something, maybe a little bit lower, 40, but it was like, you know, it was above average by quite a bit. In that time, 20 years ago, 85K salary, single income, by the way, single income, 85K salary. I remember I was able to get a down payment on, let me see, it was like a basic house, right? Like a 2-story house with an attached garage and kind of, you know, one of those vertical properties. And just a detached home. But yeah, you could get a detached home. You could pay the mortgage. I think it would have been like a 20 or 25-year mortgage. Because I didn't even need like a crazy mortgage. It was like 20, 25 years. And I also could afford a secondhand car, you know, decent vehicle, secondhand, and save money and all that jazz. You know, you can't do that now. 85K, you can't. Single income, you can't get a detached home. You can't even get a condo, barely, with 85K these days. And now they're gonna tell you that they're helping you by giving billions of dollars to rich fat cat developers so that they can help the middle class afford to rent for the rest of their lives. Holy shit. We need to do something about this, guys. This country is absolutely cratering. Like, it is cratering. It is going down faster than the souffle that you sneezed at. I'm telling you, this thing is collapsing around us. They've been trying to prop up the housing market for so goddamn long in this country. It's literally been like 15 years of them propping up a housing market that should have collapsed when 2008 hit. They've been propping it up for fucking so long that it's gonna just demolish us when it finally happens. And I, for one, I just want it to happen as soon as fucking possible. I want this place to crater faster than it needs to. Because honestly, I think it's, no matter what, I don't think it's cratered fast enough. Like I said, it should have cratered years ago. They have been manipulating this country to no end, and it has hollowed out this entire economy. If they don't start fixing the problems, and not with this isn't fixing the problems. This is the problem. This is the same shit they've been pushing for 15 fucking years, and they're just gonna keep pushing it. This shit is gonna ruin us. And I, for one, I look forward to the revolution. Because the idea of having to live in a future where this is the future, this is the only outcome that we get, is not acceptable to me. It is not acceptable. This country has fallen, and frankly, anything short of a revolution, and I don't know if we're gonna fix it. But honestly, like, calling rentals housing is just it's just like, it's like calling indentured servitude jobs. Well, I guess that's what they do. They employ. I mean, that's all we have now. We literally have indentured servitude. We have, like, rental, permanent, temporary housing. Like, permanent, temporary housing. Think about that. Permanent, temporary housing. For the permanent, temporary workers from the foreign lands that choose to not speak our fucking language because that's not even a requirement anymore. You don't even have to speak fucking English. You don't have to speak fucking French. Shut it down. Shut it down. Canadians, what's wrong with you? Why are the truckers the only fucking people in this country doing anything? And here they are doing their fucking Convoy 2.0. And, but you know what? Before we get to the Convoy, let's just take a look at this. Let's just pause, take a moment, because I just want to take a moment to laugh. Laugh at this woman. Ha ha ha. Gail Bachnick. Why? Well, she apparently was employing a Nazi war criminal for 30 years? Okay, hold on. Hold on. This lady here is a victim. Because she had the funds to personally hire somebody for 30 years, by the way. 30 years. 30 years. Most people haven't worked in a company for that long. She employed someone for her family. And was dumbfounded to learn that he had worked for the SS. No, lady. You're fucking retarded. In all the ways. You literally are choosing this moment to make a big statement. Listen, lady. You didn't do background checks on anybody. That's for 30 fucking years. Now you think that their history matters. You've known this person for 30 years, and now the history before you knew that person matters to them. But you never asked them about that? You never talked to this person for 30 years? You never learned anything about them? You sound like a terrible human being, Gail. It sounds like you were sitting there paying some... Were you even paying him? Were you paying him well? I mean... Maybe you just had an indentured servant in there, and then you finally realized, oh, or maybe you picked an SS guy. You said, I want you to work for me. Out of some weird, like, but frankly, you didn't do your job. For 30 years, you didn't know. And the fact is, who cares then? He did his job for 30 years. And now you care? Fuck you, Gail. You're a piece of shit. You really are just a piece of fucking garbage. And people are gonna... This is why you're also in this. You don't realize, Gail, but you are being targeted in this very ad, too. You don't understand, Gail, that they are using you to push, like, 3 different narratives right now. The anti-Jew narrative. You are... Unfortunately, you're the Jewish person that they are now going to make fun of. And for good reason. I mean, in this particular case, you do deserve to be made fun of. It's a stupid thing. 30 years and you don't do a background check, and then you go to the news? Like, why the fuck is this even in the news? You deserve this, Gail. You brought this on yourself. So I don't really care about Gail's... Like, fuck. She's not the victim here. It's the man who, again, her thing is, oh, we have to be careful. We can't let these Nazis in. Not the Jew. We can't let the Nazis in. It's not about the Nazis, you stupid. This is about the Palestinians. It's about the Palestinian-Israeli war. And it maybe this person who's writing this, Mia Robson, whoever you are, Mia, over at Global News, he might be linking it into the Palestinian-Israeli conflict because, of course, we have Jews and we have, you know, this ongoing Israeli thing, and finally people are getting annoyed at the Palestinians because they realize that all these protesters are yelling "Go Hamas" when you're like, it's like, okay, can we just acknowledge something here? Palestine isn't a country anymore. So there aren't any Palestinians. There were Palestinians. There aren't anymore. And even then, I don't even know. I mean, I think they had a passport at one point, but you know, passports only started in like 1895 or 1875 or whatever the hell it was. So, I mean, if they had a passport, it still only goes back like 150 years. So there was no Palestine as a country before that. You know, it would have been a kingdom, or it would have been a disparate territory fought over by a bunch of people. But it certainly wasn't a country. It was a country for a very short period of time. Then it got broken up, and now there's a bunch of countries there. One of them being Israel, and then there's a bunch of other countries that all take over the area that was once known as Palestine. So when people are saying Palestinians, they don't even fucking know what they're talking about. These people are just like, yes, and Palestinians still live there because it's a fucking territory then. And the Israelis are Palestinians. Jesus Christ, do people even fucking understand what they're talking about? Or when they say it's Palestinian land, what does that mean? Is Jordan Palestinian land? Oh, but that's fine because it's not Jewish? Is that why? So is this really about Muslims or is this about the land? Let's be real here, guys. It's a bunch of Muslims who hate Jews and a bunch of Jews who hate Muslims. That's what it is. You know what I don't hear about? The Christians claiming their fucking stake over there. This whole article again, Gail, you're fucking retarded. You are retarded. You're the stomach churning memories of the day. What day? You weren't there. You weren't fucking. You don't have any fucking memories. You're a daughter of. Read this. Lochnik, the daughter of European Jews who had many extended family members die. Many. But, okay, where? Where did they die? Did they actually die? Did they die in the Holocaust? Did they die in the war? Were they employed as soldiers in some capacity? Were they actually killed in a concentration camp? Lots of people had family members die back then. And yours are extended family members. That's kind of like saying that I had cousins somewhere at some point in time that fought or died or whatever. It's like, it's just victim, I don't know, it's just like virtue signaling in a weird way, but then it's like, you don't fucking have any of these memories. And again, really, 30 years this person worked for you, and you don't know anything about them. It doesn't sound like you're a very good boss. No offense, you didn't bother to even learn. They worked for your family directly, and you didn't learn about their history? Oh my god. Oh, because she was 6 years old when her parent... What? What are you talking about? This woman was 6 years old. What? This woman here was 6 years old when her family hired... Okay, hold on. What the fuck is going on here? I should have read this beforehand. What is going on? Emma Tobias and her husband Eric's. So the housekeeper, again, of course it's a housekeeper. These people are rich, by the way. You don't hire a housekeeper for 30 fucking years and not have money. These people are not victims. I'm so sick and tired of this shit. Ah, please. Oh, I'm so rich I hired somebody who didn't do a background check for 30 fucking years. People. But I'm the victim. I'm not victim. No. You were rich, completely detached, dissociated from reality, and you now want victim status. Taking your time. Oh my god. I don't blame you. You're surrounded by Palestinian Hamas supporters. I mean, those people are just fucking terrible. Have you looked at those? Like, I was in Toronto and I saw those riots going by. This isn't a riot for anything other than fear. I'll tell you that firsthand. Those protesters, the Hamas protesters, are scum of the earth. They're scum of the fucking earth. Those terrorist bastards are useless. They honestly are. Like, I was in Toronto, I listened to them fucking protesting. I had no respect for them whatsoever. Frankly, I'm surprised there hasn't been more issues, to be honest, because it's clear as day what they're doing. They are just trying to intimidate people. This has nothing to do with peace at all. This is about war. The Hamas sympathizers are terrorists, and they want to promote terrorism, and they like, let's be real here. Again, let's go back to the Palestinian thing. Palestine was a region, and at one point, maybe 100 and something years ago, a fucking country. For a very short period of time. Because, again, of globalization. Oh, yes, it was the Palestinians that made their passport. No. No, it was it was the United Nations, or the League of Nations, I guess, that did it. So, yeah, no. Your pathetic little passport system is also just... It's literally controlled by the oppressors that you're complaining about. The idea that you had a country at all is hilarious to me. But that being said, Jordan is still in the Palestinian region, so why don't all the people that are in Gaza go over to Jordan? I mean, it's a Muslim country for the most part. Seems like they would get along well. Oh, I don't think Jordan wants those Gazans. So let's stop calling them Palestinians then. Let's call them Gazans. Nobody likes the Gazans because they claim to be Palestinian, and they put bad fucking mojo on all the rest of Palestine. But the other problem is that all the people in Jordan still say screw Israel, but they don't want to take in the Gazans. No, see, that's the problem. I know a bunch of people that are from Jordan, at least their family's from Jordan. They're the same way. They're all like, our land has been taken. These people are oppressing us. And it's like, dude, you're from Jordan. Dude, like, you don't even know your own fucking history. Jordan is part of Palestine. You know, like, if you look at it, it's like, yeah. Why don't you call yourself Palestinian then? Oh, no, you're Jordanian? Oh, you don't want to recognize it? Jordan? Why? Why didn't Jordan just call itself Palestine? And you get all the clout. Huh? Why? It's just that little strip inside of Israel. That's Palestine. Yeah, that's the Palestine. Why? Because it's surrounded by Jews. That's why it's Palestine. No, it's called Gaza. Kind of a shitty place. It's only been there since 2005 anyways. And it was a failed experiment. Give it back to Israel. Fuck. And let Palestine form in Jordan. Fuck. It's not gonna fix the problems. They're all hateful down there anyways. Have you ever talked to anybody? Like, have you talked to the Jews down there? Have you talked to the Muslims down there? I don't want to have a real discussion. Like, it's fucking pathetic. When they come here and they just bring their hate. It's like, you know what? I don't care about either of you guys. I really don't. I think you guys have silly opinions. I think that you draw lines in the sand. You claim random dates into the past. And yet you won't deal with the days present. You have no negotiation skills. You don't have the ability to talk or to even debate reasonably. And compromise should be your first thing, and you don't even want to discuss it. You're both to blame, and I don't really give a fuck about either group. Because if you want to associate with a group in that conflict, you're a problem. I don't want to associate with any of those groups. I like the individual people I know, but not all their opinions. Frankly, when it comes to this, I think they're all retarded. I think they're all stupid. I think, honestly, whenever I talk to anybody who is at all ethnically related to these two groups of people, I can talk to them about anything, and they're normal. I talk to them about this, and they turn into fucking just zealots. They can't think anymore. They don't have the capacity to think that maybe their culture is also to blame. No, it's always the other culture. It's always the other culture. Literally, it is. Just try and have a conversation with a devout Jew about Israel and Palestine, and you will hear how Hamas is destroying everything. Every time. It doesn't matter what you bring up. It'll always be Hamas will... Trust me. Same time, you bring up a discussion with anybody who's pro-Palestine or whatever, even though they're not from Palestine, they're from Jordan, or they're from Egypt, or they're from whatever the fuck. They'll do the same thing. They'll say how Israel can't be trusted, blah 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 blah. I'm never ending. It just never ends. These like just fuck it. I don't care then. I don't give a fuck anymore. I don't. All I know is I don't want them here. I don't want to hear their shit. I don't want them rioting in my fucking city, and I definitely not in my country either. Go back if you actually care that much. How about you go back? You know where it is. Everyone does. It's right there on the fucking map. Been there for far too fucking long, and the war hasn't ended. So why do you think you'll be the one to fix it? Honestly. Think it's gonna get any better? No. You know how it gets better? People move on. You know, every other society in the world has moved on but you guys. Hell, we've had whole civilizations collapse, get reborn, collapse again, get reborn, go through all sorts of things, and you guys are still fighting over a bit of sand in the desert, and you still don't fucking know what you're doing. I'm not gonna hold my breath. Expect this to go on and on and on, and I really don't give a fuck anymore because they're making it themselves. It's like ultimately people have to get out of that conflict. You know, I'm a big believer is like you either have to leave the culture behind, or stay and fight for it. But if you're not gonna, but you can't do both. You can't leave and fight. You got to do one or the other. And I, for one, I'm trying to fight for this culture. I don't give a fucking rat's ass about Israel. I don't give a fucking rat's ass about Palestine. And I definitely don't give a rat's ass about either of those two religious entities in any way, shape, or form. I don't want a religious state. At least not of those two. I definitely, although I will say this, if I have to choose between the Israeli one and the Muslim caliphate, I'm taking the Israelis. They're not great, but I'm just gonna have to choose them over the fucking Hamas people. Hamas has everything wrong about them. Like, they even dress badly. Like, let's be real. Everything's wrong about them. The keffiyehs or whatever the fuck they're called. Dude, you look like a terrorist. Just acknowledge it. And that's why you're wearing it anyways. Because you like that it scares people. Because you are not a good person. And you have no moral values. And you believe that, you know, war is good. I mean, a lot of the Jews think the same thing. That's what's wrong with these two cultures. You can't get out war, you know? That's what Christians did right. They're not pro-war. And everyone who blames the Christians tends to go back and look at historical things that they don't actually know anything about. And then really what they're blaming is they're blaming like usually a king in Europe or a pope in Europe who at the time was trying to get more control over something. Or there's a fight between the Muslims and it's like, you know, the Crusades. Anyways, that's, yeah. Always religious difference. But let's go by what's actually spoken about, what's actually talked about. Christians do not preach violence. I mean, bad ones act on it, like everybody. But it's not in the gospel. And that's the thing. Whereas if you look at the gospel of the Quran, if you look at the Torah, just in general, even the Old Testament, like, you know, the Old Testament isn't the way it is. It's the way it was. That's why there's the New Testament. The New Testament was, this is how things are now. Don't do it like that. It's not the way they used to do it. Fucking stupid people. But the New Testament came around. If the Old Testament was the word, they wouldn't have the New Testament now, would they? People would still be doing things the old way. Jesus came around and said, no, fuck that shit. Look at this travesty of the way they used to do things. You know who he was talking about? Talking about the Jews at the time, because the Muslims weren't around. Keep that in mind too. The Muslims, they've been like, what, 600 years later they show up? And they just get all the bad ideas again. They're like, huh, you know what we want to do? We want to go back to those Old Testament ways. You didn't learn. You didn't learn. They don't even like themselves. Think about it. I mean, at least the Christians, with the exception of Ireland, maybe, and a few of the Protestant Reformation stuff, like that was a big deal. But to this day, let's put it this way. The Protestants and the Catholics, again, minus a few situations around the world, they get along for the most part. They don't agree because Catholics, you know, have the Pope and Protestants don't. I mean, Anglicans even, like to some degree, you can think they have their king to some degree. which is, I guess, relatable to the Pope. But you know what they're not doing? They're not killing each other. They're not going around. Whereas then you go into these like Shiite and these Sunni and these Sufi areas, and it's just like they're killing each other. Again, the whole like their whole culture needs a complete cleanup. They just have no values. And the Jews are just too self-absorbed. That's my opinion. Christians got it right either in terms of how they act, but let's be real. The gospel is so much better. You just gotta like, honestly, it's just better. I think a good way to ask yourself is, how do you want to be treated when you're not in that religion? For example, if you were to ask a Jew that they're no longer a Jew and they're going to live in three of the Abrahamic religions, which one do you think they're going to choose of their enemies? You know? Keep in mind that they're not a Jew, right? But they're also not going to be any of the other ones, right? So, you know, they're not going to, if they choose Judaism to be under, they're not going to be the Jew in that world, right? If they choose to be under Islam, then they're not going to be Muslim in that world. If they choose to live under Christianity, they're not going to be Christian in that world. I'll tell you which one I would choose every single time. I'm going to choose the Christian one. Because it values life, unlike the other two. They cares about people, regardless of whether they agree with you wholly. And that's what we need. Christian way of life is just a better way. It's simple as that. You know, it's just the values. There's a lot of Jewish ancestry that have found Christ. And what they mean is that they just, you know, they value life. That's really what it means. They don't just like do things because, you know, they're God's chosen people, or, you know, Muhammad's going to, you know, whatever, give them a bunch of virgins. Guys, shit sucks. Let's just go one final look and just go. Do we have any talk about the convoy? Do they even mention the convoy? I heard that it's happening, but are they even mentioning it? Why would they mention it? Canadian news. Oh, of course, it's going to be about this. God, it's just stupid. So stupid. No, nothing. Are you telling me there's literally, you have to go politics to see this? Why is it that politics has nothing to do with our politics? Look at this. Open up global news. This is Canadian. I mean, I get it says global, but it's about Canada. This is a Canadian news company. And all they talk about on politics is the US, Trump, Navalny. So we get Russia and Trump. Trump again. Oh, his civil suit. Because his civil suit, not his criminal suit, his civil suit out of New York City because of a fucking judge's personal beef. That's politics. That's the news. Oh my god, look at this. Trump. Alexei Navalny. Trump. Gaza. Oh, there's one. Oh, but... Oh, it's about Gaza, though. It's not really about Canada. Oh, there's one. Okay, so we get one. We get one story. One political story about Canada. Because the politics of the other world and the other countries are so much more important to us than our politics. You know, most news organizations have a world section for that, but no, we call it politics here in global news. Terrible. Oh, tailored agreement. Really? Tailored. Interesting. Oh, and the shill light over here. God, I can't stand him. Jagmeet Singh. Oh my god. He just shills. It's literally like, I don't know, like, I mean, you gotta hate Trudeau. But then you put him up next to Jagmeet Singh and you're just like, which one do I choose? Out of the two evils, like, what's worse? I honestly don't know. I think Jagmeet Singh would be worse for us than Trudeau, sadly. I know it's hard to say. But I have to believe that he would be worse for Canada, 100% than Trudeau. Because at least Trudeau has some tendrils into the real world. Jagmeet is nothing but a phony from the start. He's literally been a prop man. He's been pushed up by his rich friends behind the scenes that are just a little too... They're either too extreme for Trudeau to take money from, or they're like... They're criminal. Like, even beyond... Like, to the point where Trudeau's like, I can't deal with this. Whereas Jagmeet can. Because, I mean, most of his voting demographic doesn't know anything. They just care about the message, and that's the thing. If the message sounds good, they don't care who's delivering it, they don't care at all. And to some degrees, I kind of respect that, because at least they care about the message, and not the messenger. But they do need to care about who the messenger is when it's a leader. Like, they do have to have some acknowledgement that the leader is not just a messenger. You know, it's not just like you picked up the newspaper and read a column. This is how they choose to present themselves. This is what they want it to be perceived as. So they want him to be delivering these statements. Why? I mean, he's proven time and again that he's not very competent. Tends to falter a lot of the time. He's almost a few steps behind his own party. Like, his party get mad, and then he realizes that his party's mad, and then he's like, oh, I should say what my party... But he says it like a week late, and people are like, oh, why are you saying this now? It makes it sound like we're not even following the trend. I don't know. Everything about him, I want to see him gone. I mean, most of the politicians, I think Polyev is one of the few that are decent, and then there's some provincial ministers in a few provinces that seem to be decent. Maybe a premier in one of the Atlantic provinces? Maybe? I don't know. There was one a few years back that I remembered looking pretty good. But I think they all voted Liberal at the last election. So I think that might have gone away. But this pharmacare thing, dude. You understand what this pharmacare system is about? Do you understand? Like, guys, pharmacare only applies if you can get treatment. It only helps if you can get seen to by a doctor, right? So the only thing that this is going to facilitate is not real doctors, not going to real clinics, not going to your hospital, not covering the costs associated with real medical emergencies and stuff like that. No, because all of that's already covered for, generally speaking, by our existing healthcare. There's very few things, and if they are, they tend to be non-critical. They're usually cosmetic. Like, the things that our healthcare doesn't typically cover are cosmetics. So why would they be promoting for all of this? It's because they need to promote it for their new demographic, the people they've imported. Have you seen how many Ukrainians are walking around with braces? Have you seen how many Indian people are getting their teeth done, getting their dental stuff done? This is it's a racket. Put money into the dentists. Like, they're getting a lot of money. Dentists are making a lot of money off immigrants. But they're not making money if the immigrants have to pay out of pocket, because the immigrants don't want to pay out of pocket. They're coming here for free shit. You know, they don't want to pay out of pocket. If they wanted to pay out of pocket, they'd go down states. They'd pay them out of pocket. They come here for the free shit. Well, they can't get the free shit if it's not covered, so they have to get more coverage for things that affect the demographics that they want, which are the immigrant class. And they gotta get it in fast, because these are temporary immigrants. These aren't immigrants that are sticking around. These are temporary. So we have to make sure that even though they're not citizens, even though they're not going to be permanent residents, we have to make sure they can get their dental work. Fuck, I met a Ukrainian woman who got her dental work done, and she'd been in the country for 3 months, and it's flown back and it's going to other countries. Like, literally, we're getting played, guys. They don't want to defend their own fucking country. They run away. They come here. Then they get the dental work done. They get their fucking, all their healthcare shit. That's what this is about. It's about giving illegal immigrants and legal shitty immigrants, like those temporary foreign students and all that shit. It's just like, guys, understand what this is. This is a racket designed to taxpayers' money, and it's not. It's like give it to select foreign interest groups through like-kind payments, i.e., dental work, all that shit that they can't get in their country, so that they can vote in certain policies and give money from the taxpayers here, theoretically, into their friends, the select groups of insurance companies, the select groups of pharmacy companies, the select dental groups, and all that kind of stuff. These guys are the ones that are actually pocketing the final cash. But we, the taxpayers, are paying for it. And we recoup a slight portion of taxes, assuming these temporary foreign workers even do work here. A lot of them are just family members. Like this woman here, she doesn't work, she doesn't have a job. She went around, she went into a whole bunch of places and just started putting up art so that she wouldn't, that other people are paying to rent the space. Like, she's just like, we have the shittiest people in the world coming to this country right now. They have no skills, they have no talent, they don't, I mean, some of them are mostly retired. They don't even want to do anything for the world. They want to rip us off, take it and run, and then go on vacation down in Mexico. Guys, where it's cheap, where you can live. They come here for the dental and they go and they live in Mexico. Guys. Fuck. So tired of this shit. And like, this pharmacare plan, all this crap is just about it. The reason things are so expensive it's because of immigration. Everything's expensive because we keep immigrating in fucking useless people. I'm not even bringing in intelligent people. I know that for a fact. Because we bring in the bare necessities. Like, even the people that are workers that I've seen that I like have are educated in the sense that they have a degree or whatever. They can't speak English very well. So they can't understand things as quickly. They have the same capacity in their language. It's like they don't have the same capacity in our language. They can't do it. Conceptual, and that's why you see it in certain industries. They think they can bandage over it. You see it all the time in tech. Oh yeah, we'll just get another Indian programmer. Oh yeah, we'll just get another Serbian. Oh yeah, we'll just get another Ukrainian. They can't speak fucking English, guys. They're good if you can speak to them in their native language, and they're working in their culture and their blah blah blah. Otherwise, they're not as good. They're 60%. Imagine trying to do what you can do and not being able to communicate properly. You're not gonna be as good. I don't care if you were as good in that foreign country. You're not gonna be as good. The only benefit is if we want your language. You know, that's why we used to hire people that had second languages. It wasn't because we wanted them to speak in that language all the time. You know how many times I walk into stores now and I hear some temporary foreign worker speaking in Hindi or something to some other temporary foreign worker, and they're just yelling back and forth in Hindi? I'm not gonna lie. I haven't done it yet, but every time I hear it, I just want to say, shut the fuck up and speak some English. Seriously, like, our official languages. You were not hired to work in this place to speak Hindi while there's fucking Canadians walking around. Do that in your own fucking home. Jesus Christ. No one wants to hear your fucking language when you're being paid to speak English. Or maybe French. You have two official languages. If you're not speaking one of them, it better be because you're helping someone who's a tourist. Those are the fucking reasons you hire people that speak other languages, so they can help the tourists. Not the temporary foreign workers that fucking talk amongst themselves. Holy fuck, why do you think we have a gang problem here, guys? It's because they're fucking talking amongst themselves and nobody fucking understands anything. Why do you think there's so many Sikh people being shot out in BC? I can tell you it's not the English-speaking people. Holy fuck. Ah. But no, it's the 30, 40, 50, 60, who fucking knows how old this lady is? It's the worker that's been there for 60 fucking years. Oh no! Well, maybe you would have if you'd asked once over 30 fucking years. You have no one to blame but yourself. Fucking pathetic. You gotta stop letting in these people. She shouldn't have been allowed in this country. It's my opinion. Fuck. Done with this crap. Us. Despicable. Despicable. What else? And look, not a single thing about the Freedom Convoy. We hear about the EU regulations. And of course, okay, this is... Okay, let me just say something here, guys. They want the farmers to protest here because it will cause a food shortage. That's why they want this stuff. Because if it causes a food shortage, then they get to import it from where there isn't a food shortage, i.e., places where the workers are so stressed out or so oppressed they can't riot. You do understand that, right? I mean, the EU farmers are doing some good there, but it's mostly going to result in just more imports. Even though they're trying to combat against it, it's not gonna really work. So yeah, we can acknowledge that as well. But yeah, look, nothing about the Freedom Convoy. So let's just see Freedom Convoy 2.0. Because I saw some footage. Apparently they're down in Ottawa. CBC's. Oh, but look at that, Global News. Nothing on Global News. Global News does not want you to know about the Freedom Convoy. And let's see. CBC News, 2 years. Yeah, of course there's been no major incidents. The only major incident was caused by Trudeau's administration himself. Freeland Trudeau freezing fucking bank accounts. They broke the law. That's the only major incident. It always has been. But, of course, we don't care about people in this country. We care about importing cheap labor, selling their souls, draining them, throwing them back, and then promoting whatever sounds good on... And, of course... got to have the classic framing. I mean, the fact is, can we just take a moment here? In most countries, this particular shot, it's a very common protest shot. It's the wall shot, right? I love this shot. In a lot of protests, there's no gap between those people, right? There's like, this gap right here isn't there in a lot of countries. This is called Canadian politeness. Look, we even keep 6-foot social distancing when we protest. We're too polite in this country. But no, we're gonna freeze the bank accounts of these because they're terrorists. Meanwhile, we're gonna let pro-Hamas people literally terrorize hospitals and all that shit. Hamas, go fuck yourself. Palestinians who think that this country needs to do shit all for you, guess what? We're doing something for you. You can hop on a plane, pay your own fare, and go fight over there. I don't give a fuck. Get off of my fucking country. Or shut the fuck up. I don't care. Just like I don't care about any of the other countries. I don't care about Ukraine and Russia. Let them deal with it. We shouldn't have been involved. You know what? We shouldn't have taken 500, 700,000 Ukrainians. You know what we shouldn't also be doing? Taking in all the Indians. 200,000, 400,000 a year, whatever the fuck it is. No. We should go back to where we were, which was across the whole planet. We took in less than 200,000 a year, and we guaranteed that 120 of them were skilled in what we fucking wanted. Real skills. And the rest of them we could get some low-skilled labor too. And maybe 20,000 family members trickle in a year instead of the 250,000. Like literally every year we get 10 years worth of family members in this country that do nothing, 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 nothing. So sick and tired of it. You can't even like go anywhere. Like India, I need a visa to go visit there. We fucking import like a fucking city out of India every fucking year. It's fucking disgusting. Shut that country down. Like, cut the border down. You can go and like blow up into somewhere else. I don't fucking want all these Indians coming in. I don't want all these Chinese coming in. I don't want all these Ukrainians coming in. You know what? I don't want anybody coming in. How about we get some Americans? Let's bring some Americans in. It would be decent. Bring some Americans in. You know, some United States of America. Of course, what? However, of course, the Chinese embassy. There's always one at the Chinese embassy. Why? Because their country actually is like kind of a shitty country. Always doing garbage. Ruining everyone else's country. Shut up, Gail. Should have done your due diligence. And another Sprite. Oh, God, shut up. Shut up. And of course, we're going to show all these people scrambling to climb in. You know what? These people are probably just banging on doors. They're not trying to get in. They're probably just banging on doors. Someone just took a photo. Although, to be fair, Netanyahu is a piece of shit. Fuck that, dude. Why is he back? Like, he should have been, honestly, he should have been charged with war crimes 20 years ago. And he's back again. Holy fuck, it has nothing to do with Israel. This is Netanyahu, man. Netanyahu is a piece of shit. Netanyahu is garbage. You know, him and Bush and Clinton's and all of them, they're all criminals. And yet they own, they're allowed to just do whatever the fuck they want. And yet we let them. That's the other thing. It's like people, like, honestly, no. Until I see Clinton behind bars, I don't give a fuck anymore about political anything. I don't care what Putin does until I see Clinton behind bars. And then we can talk about Putin. You know? Put Clinton behind bars. We're the ones that apparently have justice in this country, and yet we're not going to arrest her. We're not going to arrest, like, Biden. Fuck that shit. I don't give a fuck. We're not going to arrest Trudeau. Who gives a fuck? You know, about what Putin does in his country. Who gives a fuck about, you know. I mean, Hamas doesn't even have a fucking leader. Maybe if they had a leader, you knew a name or something, maybe you would think about it. No, they're all over in Qatar. You know, they don't even run their own country. Why? Because it's not about anything. It's about money. Always has been. It's about power. It's not about anything. You're pro-Palestinian, you're just pro-terrorist right now. You're not really pro-Palestinian. And if you were, then you wouldn't be saying pro-Palestinian. Anyways, that's all I have to say. This country's falling apart.